In this video, we're going to check out the other type of new program that I briefly mentioned last time, which is a graphics program. Let's hit the New Class button up here, click the button that says Graphics Program, and we're going to call this program Tree. You curious about what we're going to be drawing? Once we've got this, we can open it up, and you'll see again, the format looks pretty similar to what we've seen with a Carol program and what we just saw with a console program. There are kind of a few new things up here, but we're not going to worry about this too much. We'll talk about it more as we keep going. Just because this is a slightly different type of program doesn't mean we can't do what we just did in a console program. Am I allowed to type int num ponies in a graphics program? Yeah, I totally am. And just to remind you, that terminology that we used last time, what I've done in this line is I have declared a new variable called numponies, and that variable is of type int or integer. So I can totally do this if I want to. We're not going to. This isn't going to be a graphics program about ponies. That might be a little bit above our pay grade. But what I might want to do in a graphics program is this. I'm going to type grect trunk. Now it is important, you do have to type capital G, capital R for this to work. Now you might be wondering, what did I do? Well, this line looks really similar to the one that I originally had on here. I have done exactly what I did before. I've declared a new variable. What's the name of this variable? It's called trunk. And what type is trunk? Trunk is of type grect. Now you might be wondering, what the heck is a grect? And if you had to guess, you'd probably honestly hit it right on the nose, which is that a grect is a graphics rectangle. This is going to be a graphical representation of what a rectangle is going to look like. So here I've declared a variable. Remember, declaring a variable just makes a box, but I do have to fill that box in. I have to initialize it. So let's say trunk equals new grect, and let's do 50, 50, 20, 100. Now you might be looking at this like, what the heck is going on here? This is how you initialize a grect. It's a little bit different than an int. Now, how do you have to initialize a grect? You have to have this word new, and you have to basically create a grect with 4 different numbers, and I'll tell you what those are. The first number here is actually the x coordinate of the top left corner. The second number is the y coordinate of the top left corner. The third number is the width, and the last number here is the height. It's always based on the top left corner. So what did I do? I created a new graphics rectangle that's going to start at coordinate point 50, 50 and be 20 pixels wide and 100 pixels tall. Then for now, let's just add trunk. You're going to hear me use this metaphor a lot, but the way that we're going to think about our graphics programs is like a felt board. If you remember back to probably your kindergarten or maybe preschool classroom, oftentimes in those rooms, they have a big back wall full of felt. And as a little kid, you can cut out a piece of felt in a different color, and you can go up and stick your felt piece on the overall felt wall. And that works because felt kind of grips to itself. When we make different shapes, we need to actually stick them to the wall of our graphics board. So this add here is really important. If I actually forget to put that there, I've created this really great cutout piece of felt, and you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to stick it on the board. I'm like the little kindergartner standing in the back of class, like, why can't I see my beautiful shape that I cut out? And it's like, silly little kid, you didn't actually put it on the wall. So make sure you never forget this add for any graphics object you're going to be creating. Now, let's see what this actually looks like. I'm going to compile and run this. And here we go. There is our beautiful tree trunk. Now, the graphics board is a little bit different than a regular coordinate plane that we're used to. In a coordinate plane, if we have kind of an x-y coordinate system, our x coordinates actually increase to the right and our y coordinates increase up. It's a little bit different with this. Our x coordinates still do increase to the right, but our y coordinates actually increase down, which means normally you would expect the 0, 0 to be right here, But in computer science, the 0, 0 is actually up in the top left corner. So as I go down, my y coordinate is actually going to increase. Now that we know about how our felt board coordinate system works, we can figure out what these 4 numbers really mean. Remember, we said that this 50, 50 is the xy coordinate of the upper left-hand corner. So that means that this number here is going to be a distance of 50, as well as this distance from the top of the screen to the upper left-hand corner. Both of those are going to be 50. We know that this 20, the third number, is the width, which means that this here is going to be 20. And we know that the height is going to be 110, so this here is going to be 110. Now, this isn't a very exciting trunk, so let's try to do some more with this. Let me show you some more things that you can actually do with G-Rex. Let's do this one. Trunk.setColor, to color.yellow. Now let's run this. Let's see, what's it gonna do? All right, now it's yellow. It's a little hard to see because the yellow is a little bit light, but the method set color, when you use it on a G-Rex, will change the color to something else. Let's do one more thing to make this a little more exciting. Trunk.setFilled, true. And if you had to guess, you probably would guess correctly. This is going to fully fill in the trunk, and it will fill it in whatever color it is, which in this case is yellow. Okay, well, we have a trunk, but this is supposed to be a tree. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's make our leaves. I'm going to do this up here. Now, we probably don't want our leaves to be a G-rect. So if you had to guess, there's probably another type that represents some sort of circle. It's not G-circle, it actually is G-oval. And we're going to call this leaves. And just to remind you that you can do this, remember, you actually are allowed to declare and initialize a variable on the same line. So I'm going to say G-oval leaves equals new G-oval. I still have to give this 4 numbers, and those mean the same thing. This is going to be the x coordinate of the top left corner. You might be wondering, hey, a circle doesn't have a corner. It is actually kind of the bounding rectangle around this oval that we're about to make. Let's do 40, 15 is going to be the y coordinate, and then the next 2 are still width and height. And if I make those 2 the same, this will be a circle. So let's do 75, 75. Let's do leaves.setColor to color.green. Leaves.setFilled to true. And then what's the command? What's the method that we can never forget? We have to add the leaves. Now let's compile this and let's run it. And oh no, that looks a little bit silly for a number of reasons. Our leaves are kind of like off to the side, which is fine. But also there's one reason why I actually did make this first, and that's because the order that I do these things in does actually matter. Remember, we talked about this graphics board like a felt board. So the order with which I add them actually does make a difference in terms of which one I see first or kind of on top of one another. Similar thing if I'm a kindergartner and I cut out a piece of felt and I add it first and someone adds their felt piece on top of mine, of course they're going to block some part of mine. There's a couple ways you can get around this. Really, the only thing that matters is the order of the adds. So I'm actually just going to take this add and put it down here. Even though I've created the leaves first, like I said, the order matters in how you add them. And now this looks a little better. My tree's a little funky. Maybe the leaves are kind of blowing lightly in the wind or heavily. Maybe there's a hurricane going on. But we're going to roll with this. There's my tree. Let's do one more thing just so I can show you one more graphics object that exists. Let's do G-label. I'm going to call this caption. Equals new G-label. This is a tree. And let's do 2180. Now, again, if you had to guess, what is a G-label? It's going to be some sort of text that we can put on the screen. Now, this is still different than a console program because remember, a console program is just kind of letters and numbers and things like that. I can't change the font, I can't change the color, but since I'm in a graphics program right now, I actually can change all of those things. So let's do caption.set color to color.blue. And let's do caption.set font to, the way that it works is it's the type. So let's do Palatino, bold, and then the size at the end, 18. And again, we can't forget we must add caption. Let's compile this and run it. Very exciting. There's our caption. You might be wondering, what do the coordinates mean for the caption? Is it the upper left corner? It's actually not. It's actually the left-hand side of where the signature line is. Let's look at, this is my first name. You can see that the Y kind of dips below the line that all the rest of these letters are on. So kind of right here where the bottom part of the K starts, that's where the coordinate 2180 would be. That's what I mean by signature line. If you were signing your signature, that's kind of where the letters would normally go. All right, so we've learned a little bit about how graphics programs works. We now know three new types. We know a G-oval, a G-rect, and a G-label. We're going to be making a lot more graphics programs as we keep going. I promise they're going to get a little bit more exciting than the tree, although I do think this tree is probably the most beautiful work of art I've ever seen. Certainly the most beautiful work of art I've ever made. So I will see you next time. We will be delving a little bit more into console programs and graphics programs.